It's an amazing opportunity. We are going to speak to Karen all the way from Australia about her business and how she developed herself. Karen, could you please introduce yourself and what you do for business?
Hello everyone, my name is Karen McDermott and I am a publisher and an author, and primarily a publisher of 3 publishing presses called Serenity Press, Making Magic Happen Press and KMD Books. They all have different niches, that's why I need 3 presses. So we've grown a lot over the past. I've accomplished in 7 years what I thought would take me 25 years to do. So we've grown at a very fast rate, which is just fabulous. And I'm very passionate about sharing stories with the world. That's what I'm all about.
Let's just start with the first story. Like, how was your education? Did you follow the paths of school, university, career? What did you do about that?
No, I just took my own journey. I was very smart in school, and went to a convent grammar school in Ireland, and I was pretty smart, but the education system didn't engage me, didn't keep me interested, and I kind of lost my way a little bit. So I was really happy to be able to leave school at the age of 16. I did my GCSEs, left school, and went straight to work. And I loved the whole freedom of being able to earn my own money, do my own thing. I loved all of that. And I always ended up being the boss. No matter what I was doing, I always ended up being the boss. And then I was a young mum. I had my first son when I was 19, and I ended up being a supervisor in a German meat factory. I done that for many years. I loved it. I just loved it there. But but I got the calling back into education. So when he started school, so did I. I went back to university and I started to study humanities. And so that's where I did that for 5 years and I got my diploma in humanities. And yeah, and the rest is history, I suppose, where education. I'm always learning. I never stop learning. I've been learning ever since I caught the learning bug because I was interested in the subjects that I was choosing to learn.
So my question here, like you decided to continue your studies and study humanities. How did humanities help you later on?
Yeah, well, I'm a people person anyway. I like there always to be goodness in everything that I do. So it was a foundational course, so it covered all the bases of everything really. And like I did not ever think that I would ever be an author or a publisher, but I didn't discover that or wasn't really exposed to the possibilities until later. I think I was 31 when I started to embrace that. But when I was absolutely ready for it, when it was time for me to start pursuing that as my career and as my calling. And I'm 44 now and I've been doing it, and I'll be doing it for the rest of my life.
So my other question here, like you decided to like no not to follow the path of school and university, and then suddenly you decided to go for humanities and build your own business. Was this your personal wish, or was it more that you are suitable for studying? I mean, at this level.
Well, humanities called me because I love the whole social sciences, the philosophy, the English literature, the history, all of those kinds of subjects are in there whenever you're studying humanities, and it just kept me engaged and entertained, and I was doing really well. I was getting A's, whereas in English in my grammar school, I had no interest in it. I didn't engage with the teacher. It wasn't things that I was interested in learning. And I was always like a CD grade because I wasn't putting myself into it. But when I went back to education on my terms and learned on what I wanted to learn, I was scoring A's all over the place because I was so interested in it. So I put my best of myself into it. And I would say I learned at a more accelerated pace because I was interested and I could like whenever I was at high school, there was no Google, there was no, you had to go to libraries to get books in those days. So now you've got so much available at the touch of a fingertip. You can go and do extra learning, on online and stuff like that.
So I have another point here. Like when you started studying humanities, you were a better student, a better learner.
I was so engaged. I wanted to learn. I was there by choice.
Okay.
So that was, I think that was the difference. I chose what I wanted to learn and I showed up every, I still, because I was a single mom at the time, so I still had some part-time jobs and things like that because I moved out of my big job and into some part-time at work just so that I could do the university degree. So it was a tough few years, but because I was fueled with purpose, it didn't feel like a challenge. I felt like I was working towards something really worthwhile.
From a business leader in the publishing industry, like what would you like to tell other people? How important is this?
Well, with publishing and books, I always say I wish I had a found it earlier because no matter what industry you're going to go into, if you have stories to share, and when even whenever you're learning about it, if you accumulate an information, you can compile it together in a book, put your perspective on it, and then publish a book on it because then it sets you ahead of the game. Because when you publish a book, you automatically have authority, like the word author is in authority for a reason because it raises your profile, it raises your brand, it raises your vibration, and you will stand out from the crowd. Because I know that there's many people who are in jobs and lining up to get jobs but if you're standing out from the crowd, then you are the one that's going to be chosen. So, and when you write and publish a book, it takes dedication, it takes and people, that's why you get that authority, is because people recognize that immediately whenever you say you're an author.
You say that, or you believe that we can have it all, like family, career, study, success. Like how can this happen?
Well, I have it all. I'm a mother of 6 children. I bring them to
Wow.
school, I pick them up from school. I am truly and utterly blessed. I write my books. I'm an author of over 40 books. I own 3 publishing presses. I have, people working for me. I get to stay in my genius zone. I worked hard, but on my terms. It's by choice. I've never had to compromise any of my core values for success, and yet I have success because I've shown up authentically and also very, driven with a passion for story. Very, very passionate about helping story, because when a story connects to a reader or to someone, it can help them to heal, it educates, it entertains. There's just so many aspects of and there's just so much in stories, and books are just amazing.
Believing that owning your own business is a success, like was it always easy, successful, or did you have challenges along the way?
My God, lots of challenges. But my perspective on challenges is seems to be different than other people's, but I think is probably the same perspective as a lot of successful people, is that I see challenges as positive stepping stones to success. Because when you set big intentions, and I set very big intentions, when you set big intentions and goals, you have to evolve into the person that is ready to, that is just the natural step to receive those, for those to happen. So you're going to go through a self-development process. So every challenge, there's something to learn in. So if you approach it from a learning aspect, then you just know, okay, here's something for me to work through and to step up with. And absolutely, there's no challenge has gone wasted that I've ever, and the faster you grow, the more challenges you get. But it's you learn to approach them differently, you learn to identify them coming, and you learn to overcome them faster.
How much is a positive mindset along the way is important?
Absolutely. You can't have a positive and a negative thought at the same time. So if you think about that scientific fact, it's your choices. You either choose positive or negative. So it's either I can or I can't. I'm in the I can camp all of the time, secondly so for many people. But I know I've studied the laws of the universe, the universal laws, and I write on them a lot. And because when you are aware of how positive your mind can be, you can navigate life at an accelerated speed and at a much more higher vibration and really enjoy it, because we're here to experience joy. We're not here to suffer. We're here to experience our own personal lives um, at the highest experience possible. and I do it every day. I'm very lucky and very blessed. And I have bad days. I'm human, but on those bad days, I'm lucky enough to be my own boss, so I can just take the day off. I'll close over my to-do list and I'll go to the beach, or I'll go somewhere that helps me rebalance. And then with even a few hours, or the full day off, it actually, you get clarity and clear in your mind. And so I always prioritize self-care as well.
Okay, let me ask you another question here. Like, did you choose publishing because it has less stress than other types of businesses, or is it more suitable for you as a businesswoman?
Are you kidding? Publishing isn't stress-free. No, I'm an accidental publisher. I was first an author, and then I had a negative self-publishing experience. But the quote at the beginning of the book that I published was, "From every negative situation is the potential for a positive outcome." So I was like, okay. I done a bit of research. The print and distribution channel that my publisher used had just opened up an office in Australia that very month. And so I said, if I get accepted as a publisher, I'm going to help people have positive publishing experiences. So I join people on the journey, and I think that's why I'm a publisher with a difference, because you'll see me as the face of my publishing houses. If you connect with me, I'm going to be the one you're connecting with. And because I was an author first, I know what authors go through, so I have that aspect as well. So yeah.
Okay, if you are going to write a book about publishing, what would be the main recommendations for, let's say, new writers, new authors?
Yeah, if you are setting the intention to write a book, watch out. Bring a bring some paper and pen with you everywhere, or even your voice notes, because you're going to get an inspiration at all different inconvenient times. And just set the intention. Try and map out a time in the day. Schedule it in like you would an appointment, and just sit down. And it's amazing how your subconscious, make it a habit, because it takes 21 days to create a habit. And it's amazing how your subconscious mind kicks into gear really well. And whenever you sit down to write, it just comes out onto the page. So I always say, if it's nonfiction you're writing, sort out your framework first, like your contents page, and then bring your genius, what you know already, into the book, and make that your first draft without overthinking and stopping to research and things like that. Let the research happen in your second draft, where you can just put the muscle on it. I call first draft is the skeleton, the second draft is where you put the muscle in. And same, my first ever book was a fictional novel. Now, I had never written a fictional novel before in my life, but I wrote my own story into it, and I wrote like 20 chapters, but I allowed the characters to go on their own journey. And it was very powerful and very impactful, and it reached people that needed to read it as well. So there's lots of different ways, and it depends on what genre you're approaching.
Is there a book still that you didn't write, that you will still write?
Oh my goodness. I have a list of books waiting for me to write. I even have book covers designed for them. Oh my goodness, yes. I'm going to be writing for the rest of my life. I write I always use myself as a test bunny when I would be trying out children's books. I had done my own children's books because I have 6 children, so I had I could write for them and get nice illustrators in and things like that. So that's a whole different type of publishing. There's children's books, and children are the biggest critics. so you have to keep them happy. So I have a lot of children's books. I have a lot of nonfiction books. I have a lot of novels and novelettes, and then also journals. So I always like to, but because I'm in the game all the time, I'm pretty efficient when I set the intention to write a book. So yeah.
Sometimes, let's say, writers get stuck. Like, can you help at this stage?
Oh, absolutely. That's the thing. I don't believe in writer's block. I just believe that something's just not clear yet. So you've got to give it time to reveal itself, and then you'll have the aha moment. You go, oh, that's what it is. That's what's missing there. And so whenever I've got that kind of stall in a manuscript that I'm working on, I either work on another aspect of it, or I distract myself with something else until it all kind of comes together. But I don't let it debilitate me, as in, oh no, I've got writer's block, because I don't believe that there is such a thing.
Let me say this, like researchers show that, let's say, professional writers use different cells in the brain other than novice writers. how effective or how much of a difference does this make?
Well, I know a lot of professional writers who write all of the time. I'd love to do that myself. They are the most business minded. It's very, you know, they are. It's work. They are just like machines pumping out stories, knowing how to do their story arc. Everything is they and they dedicate their whole lives to it. Whereas whenever you are a novice and you're starting out, you have this creative freedom. So you're it's kind of exciting. And even though whenever you are, you know, a novelist or you're writing full time, it's still exciting, but in a different way. It's more like a job then. But when you're starting out, it is the creative freedom and the excitement and the playfulness of that is a different experience than whenever you're doing it day to day as your actual livelihood.
It has been more than amazing and more than exciting talking to you, Karen, today. Thank you so much for your time.
My absolute pleasure.